Hello, we like to give you some insights today, and I'm here with Stefan Toth. Stefan, you are a long-standing iSAQB member, you are part of the iSAQB Strategic Council, and you are curator for the CPSA Advanced Module Agile Software Architecture, and also you are curator for the module Architecture Evaluation. I would like to ask you, agility and architecture are often seen as opposites. Would you agree with this?
No, not at all. Actually, I think that the idea that architecture and agility are opposites is kind of an old thinking mindset, I think. The main idea for me is that software architecture is a very complex topic. So you have to plan stuff, you have to build stuff, you have to get feedback and iterate to get it right. So the sense that architecture is some kind of science and planning discipline is something that is not very common anymore. And if you see architecture as this complex discipline, then agility actually helps you. Because agility helps to bring people together, to collaborate, to get early feedback, to do things iteratively. And this is how we actually do architectural work today. So I kind of think that the two sides support each other.
And what are the core topics covered in this module, and how do they help architects work effectively in agile environments?
Well, the core topics, there are different sections in the module. The first part is where we discuss the agile mindset and the principles behind it, and also architecture as a discipline, and we bring these two together. So it's a kind of a top-down approach to talk about this first, but then we get into details how agile teams actually can have anchor points in their development that remind them of architectural work, that makes architectural work transparent so that everybody can pull architectural topics. How do we decide on actual architecture when we are in a team? How do we work with architecture principles that give a general sense where we want to go, but don't make decisions very, very obvious and clear, so that there is still some wiggle room to actually build the system. And this is also something that we cover in the last part of the module, where we focus more on bigger environments where software is built, so multi-team setups and stuff like this, and how could we actually build architecture in an agile way, even if there are like 8-9 teams building software without being too centralized and too stiff about it.
From your experience, what are the biggest challenges software architects face when working in agile teams, and how does this module overcome them?
Well, the first challenge is that software architects have a role that isn't very popular in agile methodologies. So if you have Scrum, there is no architect or something. So the first thing is to find your own place. I recently heard somebody say, architects talk a lot about what architects do. Software developers just develop software. So what we try to do in the module is to give a sense that architects have purpose and they know what they're doing in an agile environment, which would most probably be facilitating software architecture, bring people together, collaborate on architectural topics. So finding this place is a first obstacle. The second biggest thing that I can think of right now would be that software architects are often looked at when there are decisions to be made. So it's easy to just give answers and decisions out to the development teams. And in this way, development teams lose their responsibility in the software. And when bigger problems arise, then the organization looks at the architects, and the development teams too think the architect is responsible for what he has decided. So one big thing is that architects need to involve the team in their decision-making process. Also try to get some idea of how group decisions work with an architect present. So a big challenge is that architects don't get too central or too essential for decisions, that they take a back seat to some of these decisions, to actually lead the team to take good decisions on themselves, to educate, to give structure, to help when talking to product owners, to other stakeholders, and facilitate that. So there are many topics that an architect actually does in an agile environment. It's more of a challenge than in a classic environment, but still something that you could do, and something that we actually try to see and feel in the module that we have here.
But it's something special what iSAQB is focusing.
If you mention
standards sometimes.
Yeah, if you mention the Agile Manifest, it's actually pretty interesting, because when you look at the Agile Manifesto, you see documentation, planning, and also kind of decision making on the right side of the manifesto, which is not that important. More important is collaboration, customer focus, feedback, and stuff like this. So lots of things that we associate with architecture, which is planning and documenting and stuff like this, is not that important when you look at the manifesto, which is perfectly okay for me, because that way you get a purpose for these things. When you do software architecture and you document something, the challenge is to document it so that the software actually gets better, that people understand what is the purpose of a component. Is this a pattern or an accident? And if you get this purpose written and communicated, then you have good documentation. And so you can use the manifesto to get some sense of what good architectural work is. You do the planning so that you can react better. If you have a problem that arises in the practice, you have to react to this problem, and you are faster if you had some planning beforehand that this could happen, or that you have some property in the system that makes it easier to change. So this is something of a very interesting idea, that you can use the manifesto to actually do architectural work in a good way. Actually, I don't think that this is very special about the iSAQB. We try to bring the essence down of the architectural practice here that is lived in companies out there. And if you look how big internet companies are actually doing their work, they're not focusing on documentation. They're not focusing on several leading characters that actually try to design the whole system. There are like lots of individuals that are very good, that try to design their part in a system, and it then fits into something bigger. To get this to work, this is something that is very much in line with what I said about the manifesto and with the module as well. So it is something that is done in practice, not in every company, but it's done in practice, and we try to bring it over to the module and teach it in a way that people that have not experienced it by now are actually able to do it.
When you do trainings, or other training providers do trainings, what is the goal of the iSAQB? What do we focus on?
When you design a system, you want to give something practical to the people. We'll talk a lot about concepts, but what I find very interesting in this agile architecture module is that you have the possibility to not only talk about architecture, but also about the implementation and the connection between these two. So if you have an architecture plan, how will you implement this plan? When you have something that is a problem when implementing, how will this feed back into your architecture? And how do many people working on a software actually do that? And how do these processes work? And actually we set up our trainings that people experience this dynamic between implementing and architecting and doing this as a team. And we very much encourage this in this curriculum and in this module, that people actually transport this in their trainings to get people to work on something and experience how implementing something and designing something is a different work, but actually it needs to be thought together and feed into each other. Yeah.
For software architects considering to attend this module, what kind of impact can they expect on their daily work?
Well, most and foremost, I think that as a software architect, you think more about the decisions you take and how you discuss them with other people that are in your project. But I think if you get very specific, you learn how to actually prioritize architectural work, how to make it transparent so that everybody can pull architectural topics, how to discuss architectural topics with product owners and actually use Scrum meetings effectively. So if you have Scrum refinements, how do you actually bring architectural topics in there? How do you motivate product owners to think about architectural topics or how to prioritize them? Discuss architectural topics with the team, and how do you make the idea that you have the architecture vision actually visible, and how do you discuss them as a team? So I would guess that the architectural idea, that architectural work changes in a way that you get more transparent about it, you involve other roles into architectural work, and you bring it to street level. You don't work in the clouds, having your head anywhere but the implementation of the system, but you actually integrate the architectural work with the implementation work and bring it to life.
Thank you, Stefan, for this many insights, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mirko.